I hear about doubt all the time. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about my experience with it. Let's talk about what doubt actually is. And once you see it in a different perspective, you won't give it power anymore. But I do think that most people think doubt is intuition. They think it's a warning. They think it's them being realistic. And that misunderstanding alone is why so many people stay in this loop of feeling stuck. You're never stuck. You're just in an assumption, an unfavorable assumption. Doubt isn't intuition, it's a defense mechanism. See it this way, and again, it will lose its fucking power. So, why does doubt show up at all? Well, your ego has one job. And I've talked in the past, a lot of people talk in the past about how your ego is trying to keep you safe, right? And it is. That job of the ego is to keep your identity stable. Not happy, not successful, but stable. The ego is built from repetition. Your past experiences, your assumptions, your self-concept. So when you decide something new, a new relationship, more money, a different version of yourself, your ego doesn't see opportunity. It sees danger. Not physical danger, identity danger. Because if this new thing is real, the old version of you can't exist anymore. Because you can't be two people at the same time. Your subconscious can't have two masters at the same time. So that old identity is going to have to go. So doubt shows up as protection. What if this doesn't work? What if I'm wrong? What if I get hurt? And that's not intuition. That's the ego trying to preserve the familiar. Now, I get it and I understand that doubt can feel so very real and convincing, but it feels convincing because it's logical and it uses your past as evidence. So let's say you are being consistent in this new story, this new version of yourself. Maybe you're affirming or visualizing, and then you start getting these opposing thoughts of, well, it's never worked before. He always leaves, they always cheat, they always abandon you. Or maybe you start getting like flashbacks of these memories from the past of times you were hurt, you were left, you were abandoned, yada yada, etc. It will use that shit against you, okay? So it uses your past as evidence, it uses timing, it uses circumstances, it uses other people's fucking opinions. But logic does not mean truth, guys. It doesn't make it true, and you don't have to accept it as such. The ego speaks in what we perceive as facts from the past. But manifestation works in assumptions about the present. And the present moment is the only moment that matters. So when people say, I just don't want to be delusional, what they really mean is, I don't want to lose my current identity. And that makes sense. Because the ego equates familiar pain with safety. Yeah. Because the ego equates familiar pain with safety. Unknown happiness, it feels risky because your ego is afraid of the unknown. It is afraid of the unfamiliar. Now let's talk about doubt versus intuition. And I've spoken about intuition before, and in my personal perspective of it, intuition comes based off of our current assumptions. That's just how I see it. But I do consider intuition, from my perspective, to be calm. It's quiet. It doesn't argue. While doubt is loud. It's repetitive. It's urgent. Doubt asks questions that loop. Intuition gives directions without panic. Doubt says, what if this fails? Intuition says, no, this is done. If it feels like mental chaos, spiraling, or urgency, that's not intuition. That is the ego bargaining. Now, here is a mistake that I see people often make, and this keeps them in a constant loop of struggle. They think they need to eliminate doubt before manifesting. They think they have to have a very strict mental diet, that they can't have doubts, and that's not true. I still have doubts. I just don't accept them as true. That's all. You don't have to rid yourself of doubts. You just have to stop associating yourself with them. Trying to get rid of doubt keeps you focused on it. The goal is not belief, guys. The goal is decision, sticking to your decision no matter what. You do not argue with doubt. You don't reassure it. You don't fight it. You simply stop consulting it. Stop entertaining it. Stop feeding it. You decide something is yours. And when doubt shows up, you don't renegotiate. You return to your assumption. That's it. And I do get a lot of people asking me, how do I stop doubting? How do I get rid of doubt? How do I make doubt disappear? Well, repetition helps dissolve doubt. It helps dissolve resistance, which is all doubt is. Resistance is the opposing thoughts, the doubts, the fear, the worries, which is all doubts, opposing thoughts from the ego. Your ego is sending this shit at you to try to pull you back into what's familiar, what's comfortable, what's considered safe, this identity that has been stabilized. That's all it is. The best way that I personally, this is just for me, like, and other people too, but from my perspective and what I've used is robotic affirming, saturation, being consistent in the new story. If you don't like robotic affirming, that's fine, but being consistent in the new story. When doubt shows up, you say, no, I'm not accepting this as true for myself. That is all you have to do. But what actually makes doubt disappear is, like I said, doubt fades when the ego realizes that you're fucking serious about this change. Not when you convince it, not when you prove anything, but when you stop changing your mind. Consistency kills doubt. And that's what robotic affirming does. You're being consistent in this new story. You're choosing this new story. If you're being consistent with it, like, you can't expect to affirm once a day for 10 minutes and then the rest of the day you're living in the old story. That's not really being consistent. You're persisting in the old more than the new, and that's not going to change anything. But you have to reaffirm the same assumption over and over. You don't have to have emotion, but don't check the 3D. Don't look for signs. That's what rewires the identity. The ego will quiet down when it understands, oh shit, you're serious. We're not going back. You stand up to that fucking ego. You stand 10 toes to it, and you show it who's boss. So here is how I have learned to handle doubt in real time. Whenever it comes up, I literally just reaffirm, okay? I reaffirm my decision. But there are times I might affirm and tell myself, and I will literally say this in my head, no, I'm not settling for this. I'm not settling for less than I want, for less than I know I can have. I refuse to accept anything I don't want or like as true for myself, because I don't fucking have to. If I want this, I can have this. I can have exactly what I want when I want it. I am in charge of my reality, nothing and nobody else. I get to choose what I experience in my reality. I am standing firm in my decision, no matter what the ego tries to throw at me. And there are times I will literally tell my ego to shut the fuck up. And I'll be like, sorry, dude, we're not going back. I am not falling for this shit. I want this thing. This thing is mine. I'm not listening to you. Okay? You don't have to have emotion, but usually, I'll be like dead serious. Like, nah, dude, shut the fuck up. This thing is mine. You can go now. You can go. But, consistency. But stop thinking that doubt means that you're failing. Doubt does not mean you're failing. It means your identity is shifting. And that's uncomfortable right before things change. So if doubt is loud right now, good. It means you're not going backwards anymore. You're outgrowing something. This old identity, this old version of yourself. So please understand, doubt is your ego trying to protect itself, trying to protect you, trying to keep you safe in what is familiar and known. It's just trying to protect you, even though it's annoying, But your ego's only job is to keep you identified with the old story, the familiar story, the version of you that already exists. And that is why it throws doubt at you, to try to pull you back in. Don't let it fucking win. Be disciplined. So the moment you decide something new, like, again, money, specific person, a different life, your ego will panic. Not because it's wrong, just because it's unfamiliar. So what does the ego do when it's unfamiliar? It creates doubt and it throws it at you. It might say something like, what if this doesn't work? What if I'm delusional? What if I'm just getting my hopes up? What if I don't get it? What if manifestation isn't real? What if this is all a scam? I get a lot of people saying, I feel like this is all a scam. I feel like this isn't real. And that's normal, especially if you're like a beginner in conscious creating. I get that. I think everybody's dealt with that. I dealt with that, okay? But that is not intuition. That's fear of identity death. Your ego is fucking terrified at this point. But manifesting isn't just about getting something, it's about letting go of who you've been. You have to let it die. You have to kill the old version of yourself. And doubt is just the ego saying, can we please go back to what feels safe? Let's go back to our comfort zone. You don't need to remove doubt. You just start negotiating with it. You don't argue. You don't spiral. You don't look for proof. You decide and you stay decided, and use robotic affirming if you need to. That's what I do. That's what I've always done, is I've robotically affirmed to help me stay consistent with this new story and to not allow doubt to interfere. But I promise the ego quiets down when it realizes that you're not changing your mind. I do think doubt shows up most when it's about to work. And this perspective reframes doubt. It shifted my perspective of doubt. People assume doubt means something isn't aligned, when in reality, doubt spikes when the assumption is starting to harden, because the ego doesn't react to thoughts, it reacts to commitment. And the moment you stop entertaining alternatives, the ego realizes this isn't just a phase. You're fucking serious. And that's when doubt gets loud. So there's no need to panic when doubt happens. Just tell your ego, yes, I am serious. I am not settling for comfortable and what's known anymore. I'm changing what's familiar, and you're just going to have to fucking adjust, bro. Now, the ego does not want you to fail. It doesn't want you to fail. It wants you to stay you. The ego is not evil. It's not sabotaging you. It's just loyal to the current version of you. It's very loyal, okay? Even if it's annoying. But when people say, why do I self-sabotage? You're not sabotaging success. You're just protecting an identity. But that's when discipline and consistency comes in. And no, you don't have to feel it real. You don't. I know a lot of people will say that you guys need to have an emotional certainty before things change. You have to feel it. No, you don't. Certainty doesn't come first. Repetition does. And you use repetition for everything. It's the story that you repeat. You're repeating the same story over and over. That identity. And most identity shifts happen while you feel bored or doubtful or neutral. You don't need to feel powerful. You just need to be consistent. At the end of this video, look, I need somebody to count how many times I have fucking said the word consistent. And I know you guys are probably tired of hearing me say you need to stop checking, but this is important. It involves the ego. But, the moment you stop checking, things tend to move. Because if you've ever heard the saying, a watch pot never boils, it doesn't. It doesn't. But the ego survives through checking, okay? Checking the phone, checking the bank account, checking for movement. Every time you check, you're asking doubt for permission. When you stop checking, you stop feeding the old identity. But right now, if doubt is loud, just sit with a thought, I don't need to believe this. I don't need proof. I don't need reassurance. I've decided. I'm settling in this assumption that this is mine. And, just repeat whatever you need to repeat to get you back into your power. Like, remember who the fuck you are. I understand that it's so easy to get distracted and forget who we are, because the 3D, the circumstances, the doubts, it all feels so real, but it's not. And they are not more powerful than you, and you are not powerless to any of it, the circumstances or the doubts or anything. You are the only one in control of your reality. And doubt does not mean stop. It means the old you is being challenged. The old identity is being forced into retirement. And it's not always quiet. It might not always feel or look pretty. But that just means you need to stand firm and stay committed to this new version of you, because it is solidifying. So let it. And don't let the ego win, because you got this. You are stronger than that. Get your shit. But I really hope that helps you to see doubt in a different light, in a different perspective, and to hold on when doubt appears. Don't fight it. Don't allow it to make you fall back into the old self. Because no, we're not gonna let the old self win. Fuck that bitch. We don't want to live there. We don't need it. We're not going to entertain it. We're not going to negotiate with it. We're going to stand firm in the decision that this is who I am now. This is what I experience now. We're not going to let the ego win. And again, the ego is not trying to make you fail. It's just its job to stabilize this current identity. But stand 10 toes, discipline, consistency, and eventually you will notice a decrease in the doubts. I always did. They might not have, completely went away, but I always noticed a decrease. I always noticed myself starting to be, more in the new story. Like, yeah, no, you know what? This is fine. It's going to work out. And doubts would still appear. And that's okay. I just stopped identifying with them. I stopped allowing them to persuade me that this isn't working. No. Repetition. I was using repetition constantly, robotic affirming, saturating, listening to my own affirmation tapes, sleep tapes. I was doing whatever I needed to do to shut that fucking thing up because it was so loud. And I get it, it's frustrating, but don't let it win. Don't let it win. If you really want this thing, you can have it. Don't listen to what the doubt has to say, to what your ego has to say. Do not allow it to throw all this shit at you and then fall back into that trap. No, we're stronger than that. We're better than that. Get your shit. But I think that's pretty much it. I really hope this helped you guys. If you'd like one-on-one coaching, link is in my bio, or email me at manifestwithbeth@yahoo.com. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe because this does help me get out to others who may be looking for answers themselves. And I hope everybody has a fabulous Monday. It's 8 a.m. here. I'm going the fuck back to bed. Good night.